My name is Vivian Rowan. I am 34 years old. And the last thing I remember before waking up in a VIP hospital room was my mother-in-law pouring me a second helping of tiramisu. I came to under fluorescent lights, an IV in my arm, a heart monitor clicking beside me. The door was half open, and through it, I heard Gretchen whisper, "Are you sure she took it?" Then Paige, my sister-in-law, let out a quiet laugh. "Relax. By tomorrow morning, everything will be ours." My blood went cold. I reached for my phone on the chair beside the bed. Battery at 34%. I opened my messages and typed one line to my attorney. "Execute the plan. Now." 48 hours earlier, I had signed a document that none of them knew existed, and the woman who helped me draft it was already on her way to the hospital. But I need to go back, because what happened at that dinner table started long before the wine was poured. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories, where every story is a reminder that silence is not weakness, it is strategy. If you have ever had to protect what you built from the people who were supposed to have your back, this one will feel familiar. Drop a comment and be sure to subscribe. I grew up in Harnett County, North Carolina. My mother raised me alone in a double wide on 2 acres she rented from a soybean farmer. She worked nights at a gas station and weekends at a church thrift shop. I never went hungry, but I learned early that nothing came free and nothing stayed unless you held it with both hands. I got a scholarship to nursing school at UNC Wilmington, graduated top of my class, took a job in the ER at Novant Health Presbyterian Medical Center in Charlotte and worked there for 4 years. While I was still pulling weekend shifts, I enrolled in the Family Nurse Practitioner program at UNC Charlotte. Got my MSN in 2 years, passed the boards, and came out licensed to diagnose, prescribe, and build treatment plans on my own. 12-hour shifts, holidays, overnights. I loved the work. But every week I watched patients get discharged to homes where nobody was waiting. Elderly men sent back to empty apartments. Women recovering from hip replacements with no one to check if they were eating. The hospital treated the crisis. Nobody treated the aftermath. So I started Rowan Home Health out of my kitchen table. 1 laptop, 1 filing cabinet, a phone that never stopped ringing. Within 2 years, I had 6 employees. Within 5, 23. We covered 6 rural counties around Charlotte. In-home nursing, post-op care, medication management, physical therapy referrals. I drove to see patients myself every Saturday morning, not because it was required, because Mrs. Delano in Stanley County had no children, and Mr. Whitfield in Anson County could not get his compression stockings on alone. The agency was mine. Every contract, every hire, every late night reconciling payroll, mine. I was proud of it the way you are proud of something you built with nothing but stubbornness and a refusal to quit. I was good at taking care of other people, terrible at noticing when someone was circling me. I met Tyler Prescott at a fundraiser for rural health clinics in Cabarrus County. He was tall, quiet, had a way of listening that made you feel like the only person in the room. He asked me about my work, and when I told him I ran a home healthcare agency, he did not glaze over the way most men did. He asked how I handled Medicaid reimbursements. That got my attention. We dated for 11 months. He was gentle, steady, and never once talked over me. That felt like love. When he brought me home to meet his family, I thought I had hit the jackpot. The Prescott house sat on 3 acres in a gated community outside Mint Hill. Gretchen met me at the door with a hug that smelled like Chanel and fresh bread. She held my face in both hands and said, "You are exactly what this family needed." The table was set with china that had been in the family for decades. Gretchen asked about my business, my mother, my plans. It felt warm. It felt like belonging. Paige, Tyler's younger sister, sat across from me. She was polished, blowout, linen blouse, perfect nails. She smiled and asked the right questions. But her eyes measured me the way you measure a room you are deciding whether to rent. I noticed. I filed it away. Tyler checked his phone twice during dinner. "Both times, Gretchen." He answered immediately each time. I filed that away too. On the drive home, Tyler said, "Mom already loves you." I squeezed his hand. Looking back, The warmth was research. She was appraising me before I even knew I was for sale. 6 months after the wedding, Gretchen invited me to lunch. Just the two of us. A bistro near South Park she liked because the manager knew her name. She ordered for both of us. Then she set her fork down, folded her hands, and said she had been thinking. "Vivian, Tyler and I have been talking. You know the family has a trust, the Prescott Family Trust. It handles the real estate, investments, tax planning. We think it would be smart to fold your business assets into the trust. For efficiency? For protection?" She said it the way she said everything, like she was offering a gift. I took a sip of water. "I appreciate that, Gretchen. But Rowan Home Health is my company. I built it before I married Tyler, and I would rather keep it separate. For simplicity." Her smile held. It did not reach past her cheekbones. "Of course, dear. Just something to think about. The offer is always open." That night, Tyler brought it up again while we were doing dishes. "Mom was just trying to help. She knows about this stuff. Do not make it weird." I dried a plate and set it in the cabinet. "I am not making it weird," I said no. He went quiet. That was the first time I felt the pull. The invisible cord between Tyler and Gretchen that tightened whenever I pushed back on money. It was thin, almost invisible. But when I tugged, he always leaned toward her. I let it go that night. I should not have. But I had 18 patients on my schedule the next morning, and I chose the problem I could solve over the one I could not name yet. The barbecue was in July, the whole family at the Prescott house, brisket on the smoker, Paige's Bluetooth speaker playing country pop on the deck. Paige arrived in a new SUV. Leased, I learned later. She talked about a new venture, event planning. "I have a real eye for it," she said. Gretchen beamed. "Paige has wonderful taste." I offered help, genuinely. "I know some venue managers if you ever need contacts." Paige's smile thinned. "Thanks. I think I have it covered." Later, I went inside for ice. The kitchen door was cracked. Paige was on the phone in the laundry room, and I heard her before I saw her. "She acts like she is the only one who works. Try building something when your own mother will not stop comparing you to the golden daughter-in-law." I stood there with the ice bucket, set it down quietly, walked back outside. It stung, but I understood it. Paige had opened 2 businesses with Gretchen's money, and both had closed within 18 months. I had opened one with no money and no family backing, and it was thriving. That math would make anyone bitter. But the part that stayed with me was not the jealousy. It was what she said about Gretchen comparing us. I realized Gretchen did not just want my business. She had built a system. She praised me to Paige. She praised Paige to Tyler. She held the measuring stick, and every one of us was too busy performing to notice we were all being graded by the same person, for the same reason: control. The first transfer was $12,000. I found it while reconciling our joint checking account on a Tuesday night. 12,000, wired to an account number I had never seen. I showed Tyler the statement. He barely looked at it. "Mom needed it for a property closing. Short-term bridge. She will pay it back." I set the paper down slowly. "That is our emergency fund, Tyler." He shrugged. "It is just temporary. Do not make this a thing." I tried to set a boundary. I said from now on, no transfers from our joint account without both of us agreeing first. He nodded. He even said, "Fair enough." 2 weeks later, another 5,000 was gone. Same account. No discussion. When I confronted him again, he just said Gretchen had a tight deadline and he did not want to bother me while I was working, as if asking me before spending my money was a bother. That weekend, I opened a personal account at a different bank. I moved my business income there, rerouted my direct deposits, left just enough in the joint for household bills. Tyler did not notice for 3 weeks. When he finally did, he said, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Because I work 60 hours a week for that money, and I should know where it goes." He went quiet. The cord pulled. I could feel it. But this time, I did not let go. I started building walls he could not see. That was the first one. It would not be the last. I threw myself into work. It was easier than sitting across from Tyler and wondering who I had married. New contracts came in. A regional hospital wanted Rowan Home Health to handle their post-discharge program for 3 counties. Biggest deal since I started the agency. I hired 3 new nurses, bought a second van, stayed at the office until 9 most nights. I missed Tyler's birthday dinner that Gretchen organized. I called to apologize. Gretchen picked up Tyler's phone. "Oh, we understand, sweetheart. Business comes first for some people." She said it softly, like a pat on the head. Tyler did not call me back that night. When I got home, he was asleep on the couch with the television on. I stood in the doorway for a long time. There was a version of this where I sat him down and told him everything I was feeling, where I said the money, the boundaries, his mother. All of it was pulling us apart. But I was tired. Bone deep, 60-hour week tired. And the hospital contract needed signatures by Friday, and Mrs. Delano had a fall, and 2 of my nurses called out sick on the same day. So I put a blanket over Tyler and went to bed. I was not ignoring the problems. I was outrunning them. I told myself that if I built something big enough, stable enough, maybe the instability at home would not matter. Maybe security in one part of my life could compensate for chaos in another. It cannot. I know that now. But at the time, I was still running, and the people behind me were getting closer. The certified letter arrived on a Monday. A property line. One of the commercial buildings Tyler co-owned with Gretchen, a strip mall on Independence Boulevard, had $340,000 in unpaid property taxes. 3 years overdue. I sat Tyler down that night with the letter in front of us. I did not raise my voice. I said, "How bad is it?" He said, "Mom says it is manageable." I leaned forward. "Tyler, how bad?" He cracked. Slowly, piece by piece. The Prescott commercial portfolio, 6 buildings Gretchen had managed for 30 years, had been bleeding since the market turned. Vacancies, deferred maintenance, loans taken against equity to cover operating costs. Total exposure, somewhere close to $900,000. Gretchen had hidden the numbers from everyone, the church friends, the neighbors, Paige, Tyler. The Prescott name still looked solid from the outside. Inside, it was hollowed out. That evening, Gretchen called. Warm as ever. "Vivian, I know Tyler told you about some of the challenges we are facing. I did not want to burden you, but we are family. Family shares. And I am wondering, just a temporary bridge, 6 months, if we could arrange a transfer from your business accounts to stabilize things. We are family. Family shares." She said it like a prayer, like something you say at Thanksgiving before you carve the turkey. I said no. Clear. Final. There was a pause on the line. Then Gretchen said, "I see. Well, we will find another way." She said it like a promise. It was. The Sunday dinner was routine. Gretchen's house, the 4 of us, a roast and green beans and her mushroom risotto that she made from a recipe she claimed came from her grandmother in Virginia. I ate 2 servings. It was good. I complimented the risotto. Gretchen smiled and squeezed my hand across the table. That night, around midnight, I woke up vomiting, not the slow, queasy kind, violent. My heart was racing, my skin clammy, the room tilting every time I stood. Tyler drove me to urgent care. The doctor examined me, ran basic labs, and said it looked like a standard GI bug. Probably viral gastroenteritis. Rest, fluids, come back if it gets worse. I asked him directly, could it be something I ate? Something that should not have been in the food? He tilted his head. Possible, but unlikely unless others got sick too. Nobody else got sick. Just me. I went home, slept for 14 hours, and spent 3 days recovering. On the second day, I wrote it down. Date, October 6th. Location, Prescott House. What I ate, roast, green beans, mushroom risotto. 2 servings. Who cooked? Gretchen. Who else ate? Tyler. Paige. Gretchen. Nobody else reported symptoms. I put the note in my desk drawer at the office. I did not know what it meant yet. But something in the back of my mind, the part of me that had been an ER nurse for 4 years, that had seen patients come in with symptoms that did not match their stories, that part was paying attention. Tyler told me Gretchen felt terrible and had triple-checked her ingredients. He said it so smoothly, like he had practiced it. 2 weeks later, I was fully recovered. Back at the office, back on Saturday patient visits, back to normal. Except Tyler was not normal. He started asking questions he had never asked in 3 years of marriage. How does your business bank account work? Is it only in your name? I looked up from my laptop. Why? Just curious. Estate planning. Mom said we should understand each other's finances better. Your mother said that. She is right, though. We should know these things. I did not answer. I changed the subject to the leaking faucet in the bathroom. That night, after Tyler fell asleep, I pulled up my LLC operating agreement, read every clause. The succession plan was standard boilerplate from when I incorporated. If I became incapacitated, Tyler, as my spouse, was listed as interim manager with authority over business operations. I had written that 2 years ago, before the missing money, before the lien, before the risotto. It was an innocent clause when I signed it. Now it read like an open door. I also checked my healthcare power of attorney. I had signed one during a routine estate planning session when Tyler and I first married. It named Tyler as my healthcare agent. A separate page, a durable financial power of attorney stapled behind it, gave him broad authority over accounts and assets if I became incapacitated. My chest tightened. I was not a suspicious person by nature. I was a nurse practitioner who evaluated symptoms and built treatment plans based on evidence. And the evidence was starting to point somewhere I did not want it to go. I opened a new document on my computer and began drafting changes to my succession plan. It was midnight. Tyler snored softly beside me. I typed quietly. I want to pause here, because I know what some of you are thinking. Why did she not just leave? And I need you to understand. I was asking myself the same question every single day. But walking away without proof meant walking away with my business exposed. If you have ever had to choose between running and standing your ground, you know what that paralysis feels like. Stay with me, because what I found next changed everything. Tyler's work bag sat on the hallway bench the way it always did. Brown leather, scuffed at the corners. I was looking for a phone charger he had borrowed. I unzipped the front pocket, and my fingers found a manila folder. Inside was a document, Healthcare Power of Attorney. My name at the top. Tyler Prescott listed as my healthcare agent with broad decision-making authority, including financial matters, in the event of my incapacitation, dated 7 months earlier, and at the bottom, my signature. Except I had never seen this document. I had never signed it. I stood in the hallway for a long time. The house was quiet. Tyler was at his mother's. I could hear the refrigerator humming. I turned each page carefully. It was notarized. A name I did not recognize. Janet Faulkner, Notary Public, Mecklenburg County. I took out my phone and photographed every page, front and back. The notary seal. The forged signature. I checked the stroke on the V in Vivian. It was close. But I had signed my name 1,000 times on nursing licenses, business contracts, and insurance forms. I knew my own handwriting the way a carpenter knows the grain of his own wood. This was not mine. I put the folder back exactly where I found it, closed the zipper, set the bag on the bench. That night I lay in bed next to Tyler. He slept with his arm across his pillow, breathing slow. I stared at the ceiling. The man I married had a document in his bag that could give him control over every dollar I had earned, and it had my name on it in someone else's handwriting. Nora Wells had been my friend since my ER days. She was a pharmacist at the same hospital where I used to work, sharp and direct. The kind of woman who would tell you your outfit looked bad and then help you pick a better one. We met for coffee at a place off Central Avenue on a Wednesday morning. She stirred her latte and looked at me with the expression she used when she had bad news about a drug interaction. Viv, I need to ask you something. Last week, Someone called the pharmacy asking about your prescription history and medical records. They said they were calling from your primary care doctor's office, verifying medications for a hospital pre-admission workup. I set my cup down. I do not have a pre-admission workup. I know, the callback number they left did not match your doctor's office either. I flagged it under HIPAA and reported it to my supervisor. My hands were steady, but my stomach was not. What exactly did they ask for? Full medication list, known allergies, and this is the part that bothered me. Any history of psychiatric treatment or cognitive impairment. I was quiet for a moment. Then I told her. All of it. The illness after dinner. Tyler's questions about my accounts. The forged POA with my name on it. Nora listened without interrupting. When I finished, she put her hand flat on the table. Vivian, you need a lawyer. Not the Prescott family lawyer. Not Tyler's recommendation. Your own attorney. Someone who owes nothing to anyone in that family. She paused. And if you think you were poisoned, and I think you should consider that possibility seriously, get baseline blood work done. Now, while you are healthy, so if it happens again, there is something to compare against. I called the North Carolina State Bar referral line the next morning and asked for an attorney who specialized in trust and estate litigation with experience in asset protection. They gave me 3 names. I picked Rachel Keller because her firm was small, independent, and had no connections to any real estate network in Charlotte. Her office was on the 2nd floor of a brick building on East Boulevard. Simple, clean, no oil paintings, no mahogany. She listened to everything I said for 45 minutes without interrupting once. Then she set her pen down. You have a forgery. You have a pattern of financial boundary violations. You have an unauthorized inquiry into your medical records. And based on what you are describing, you have a narrow window before they escalate. She pulled out a legal pad and started writing. Here is what I recommend. First, we restructure your trust immediately. Tyler comes off as beneficiary and successor trustee. I go on as interim if you are incapacitated. Second, your business succession plan gets the same treatment. I replace Tyler as emergency manager. Third, I pre-file a challenge to that forged POA with the Mecklenburg County Clerk. If anyone tries to present it at a hospital or court, the challenge is already in the system. Fourth, and this is the one I need you to think about, we set up a dead man's switch. I asked her what that meant. You check in with me at a set time. If you miss the check-in and I cannot reach you, I automatically execute a package, temporary restraining order application, police report, asset freeze, and emergency divorce filing, all pre-drafted, all ready to go. I signed everything that afternoon. I did not feel powerful. I felt prepared. And sometimes, that is the same thing. Tyler left his laptop open on the kitchen counter. He was in the shower. A notification popped up. An email from Gretchen to an address I did not recognize. The subject line read, Emergency Conservatorship, Timeline. I should not have looked, but I did. The email was from Gretchen to a lawyer named Harold Brewer. It outlined a sequence of steps. Step 1. After V is admitted to hospital, T presents healthcare POA to admissions. Step 2. File for emergency temporary conservatorship citing medical incapacitation. Judge Harwell's clerk has confirmed availability Thursday. Step 3. Once conservatorship is granted, redirect business accounts and personal accounts into the Prescott Family Trust within 48 hours. Step 4. Secure signature authority over Rowan Home Health LLC operating agreement through interim management clause. I read it twice. My hands did not shake. Something in me had gone very still, the way it used to in the ER when a trauma came in, and the room around me narrowed to just the patient and the monitors. They had a judge. They had a lawyer. They had a step-by-step plan to have me declared incapacitated and strip me of everything I had built while I lay in a hospital bed, unable to stop them. I took screenshots, sent them to Rachel from my personal email. Then I closed the laptop, wiped the screen with my sleeve, and set it exactly where Tyler had left it. I did not confront him. I did not change my expression. When he came out of the shower, I handed him a cup of coffee and said I was heading to the office early. Rachel's reply came within an hour. This changes our timeline. Get the blood work done this week. And Vivian, do not skip that dinner. The next 5 weeks were the longest performance of my life. Rachel and I worked fast. The trust restructure was filed. My assets now sat inside an irrevocable trust with Rachel named as emergency trustee. If I was incapacitated, Tyler had no authority. Gretchen had no path. The business succession plan was updated the same day. Rachel replaced Tyler as interim manager. I changed every password: email, banking, business software, even my patient records portal. Then I moved what remained in the joint account to my personal account. I left in just enough to cover the mortgage and utilities for 1 month. Enough so Tyler would not notice immediately. At home, I was the same Vivian. I cooked. I watched television with Tyler on the couch. I answered Gretchen's Sunday phone calls with the same, "Yes, Gretchen, everything is fine," I had been saying for 3 years. I smiled at Paige's Instagram posts about her event planning venture. I brought a casserole to a Prescott family cookout and sat in the same chair I always sat in. Inside, I was counting days, mapping exits, running scenarios. I felt like an undercover agent in my own home, sleeping next to a man who had signed documents that could have destroyed me. Rachel called every few days to check in. She was methodical, precise. She never rushed, but she never wasted a word either. "When the dinner comes," she said during our last call, "do not eat anything you did not bring yourself. Carry a sealed water bottle, and check in with me every 2 hours. If I do not hear from you by the agreed time, I execute." I told her I understood. I had been a nurse. I knew how to follow a protocol. This one just happened to be for my own survival. I went to see my primary care doctor on a Thursday afternoon. I asked for a comprehensive blood work panel: liver function, kidney function, complete metabolic, heavy metals, and a common toxin screen. She raised an eyebrow. "Any particular reason?" "I had a bad episode of food poisoning a few weeks ago. I want a clean baseline for my personal records." She did not push. She ordered the tests. I sat in the phlebotomy chair while the technician drew 4 vials of blood. The results came back 3 days later. Everything was normal. Every marker within range. Clean. I drove to Rachel's office and gave her a printed copy. "If my next set of labs shows something that is not on this panel," I said, "then someone put it there." Rachel filed the baseline results with the pre-drafted police report. One more piece in a machine that was built and ready, waiting for someone to pull the trigger. That night, I sat in my car in the hospital parking garage, engine off, windows up. I cried. Not from fear, not from anger, from grief. I was building a criminal case against my own family. The man I married, the woman who had hugged me at the door 3 years ago, the sister-in-law I had tried to help. I was preparing to send them to court. Every document Rachel filed was a step away from the life I thought I was building, and every step was necessary. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, turned the key, drove home, made chicken and rice for dinner. Tyler said it was good. The invitation arrived 2 days later. Gretchen called on a Wednesday evening. "Vivian, I am hosting a dinner this Saturday. Your 3rd wedding anniversary. Just the 4 of us. Family. 7 o'clock. I am making something special." Her voice was warm, steady, deliberate. The way it always was when she wanted something. "I will be there," I said. Tyler across the room. "Mom is really excited. She has been planning the menu all week." His voice was flat. He did not look up from his phone. Paige texted me that night. "Can't wait for Saturday. Gretchen is going all out." Followed by a heart emoji and a champagne glass emoji, 3 people performing enthusiasm. One of them texting it to the woman they were planning to incapacitate. I called Rachel from my car during my lunch break the next day. "Saturday night, that is the dinner." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "Understood. I will be on standby from 6 p.m. forward. Dead man's switch is active. If you do not text me by 11 p.m. Saturday, I execute the full package. Copy. Vivian, be careful, but do not back out. If you skip this dinner, they will just set another date. Better to face it when we are ready than to wait for a version we did not prepare for. That evening, Gretchen texted me. I read it 3 times. We are family. Family shares everything: joy, loss, and a good meal. See you Saturday, sweetheart. The same phrase, the same melody. We are family. Family shares. She had said it at the bistro. She had said it on the phone when she asked for my money. She said it now, the week she planned to take everything else. I saved the text. Friday night. I laid everything out on the bed like a nurse prepping a tray. Phone, fully charged, portable charger in my purse, sealed water bottle, factory cap intact. A list of emergency contacts saved as a note on my home screen. Rachel, Nora, Charlotte, Mecklenburg Police Non-Emergency Line. I called Nora. If I end up at Novant Presbyterian this weekend, I need you to call the hospital and request a full toxicology panel on my blood. Tell the attending physician you have reason to believe I was given a substance without my knowledge. As a pharmacist on staff, your report triggers a clinical obligation. The attending will order the panel. Nora was quiet. Vivian, are you sure you want to do this? You could just not go. If I do not go, they try again. And the next time I might not be prepared. You could go to the police now. You have the email, the forged POA. An email from Gretchen to a lawyer is not proof of a crime. It is proof she had an idea. The POA proves forgery, but forgery alone gets reduced to a misdemeanor in most NC cases. I need them to act. I need a substance in my blood that was not there 2 weeks ago. That is the difference between a paperwork crime and a felony. Nora exhaled slowly. Okay. I will have my phone on all night Saturday. Saturday morning, I texted Rachel. If I go silent after 10 p.m. tonight, execute everything. She replied, received. Be safe. Be smart. Call me when you can. I put on a dress, did my makeup, looked at myself in the mirror. I was about to sit down at a table with 3 people who wanted to take everything I had, and I was going to let them think they could. I drove to the Prescott house at 6:45. The lights were on. The front door was open. Gretchen stood in the doorway, in a navy dress and pearl earrings, arms wide. Vivian, sweetheart. The hug was long. She smelled like garlic and shalimar. Behind her, the dining room glowed. Candles on the table, Gretchen's best china, a bottle of red wine already breathing on the sideboard. The table was set for 4. White napkins folded into fans, a small arrangement of hydrangeas in the center. Paige was already there, leaning against the kitchen island with a glass of wine. Happy anniversary, you two. She hugged me, held on a beat too long. Her eyes dropped to the water bottle in my hand, then back to my face. Tyler stood by the window. He kissed my cheek. You look nice. His smile stopped at his mouth. When Gretchen poured the wine, I held up my bottle. I am on an early shift tomorrow. Water for me tonight. Something passed across Gretchen's face. A flicker, quick as a blink. Then it was gone. Of course, honey. Whatever you prefer. She set the wine bottle down. Dinner started. Roast chicken with rosemary, mashed potatoes, green beans from the garden. Gretchen told stories about Tyler learning to ride a bike in the driveway. Paige laughed at all the right moments. Tyler moved food around his plate. I texted Rachel under the table. Arrived. All 4 present. Starting dinner. She replied with a single period. The evening was warm, candlelit, and perfectly staged, like a set dressed for a play where someone was about to get hurt. Gretchen cleared the dinner plates and disappeared into the kitchen. She returned with a glass dish. Tiramisu. Layered espresso, mascarpone, dusted cocoa. I made it fresh this morning, she said, setting it in front of me. Vivian, I know it is your favorite. I had mentioned liking tiramisu once, 2 years ago, at a birthday brunch. The fact that she remembered, that she had been saving that detail the way a carpenter saves a good piece of wood, told me everything I needed to know about this dessert. Paige stood. A toast first. To 3 years. To family. To building something together. To sharing everything that matters. She raised her glass. Gretchen raised hers. Tyler lifted his but did not drink. His fork had not touched his plate since the main course. Gretchen served me a generous portion. I picked up my fork. The first bite was rich, sweet, espresso heavy. The second bite had a bitterness underneath that did not belong there. Not the sharpness of unsweetened cocoa. Something medicinal. Chemical. Flat on the back of my tongue. I looked up. Gretchen was watching me. Not the way you watch someone enjoy your cooking. The way you watch a clock. I took a third bite. A fourth. I could feel Nora's voice in my head. Baseline blood work. And Rachel's? Do not back out. One bite would not show up on a toxicology panel as definitively. I needed enough in my system for a lab to quantify. I ate half the tiramisu. Set my fork down. Smiled. Gretchen, this is wonderful. She smiled back. And for 1 second I saw something behind her eyes that looked almost like pity. 20 minutes after dessert. Gretchen had served coffee. I held the cup but did not drink it. The first wave came without warning. Nausea, sharp and sudden, rising from my stomach into my chest. My palms went cold. The edges of the room softened. Vivian, honey, you look pale. Gretchen said it before I had even set down the cup. She was watching. She had been waiting. I pressed my hands flat on the table, steadied myself. Excuse me, I said. I walked to the bathroom, closed the door, locked it. My heart was hammering. My vision blurred at the edges. I sat on the lid of the toilet and took out my phone. Texted Rachel. Symptoms starting. I had the dessert. Maybe 30 minutes before I lose function. Stand by. Rachel. Copy. Timer starts now. I am ready. I splashed water on my face, looked at myself in the mirror. The woman staring back was gray around the lips. Her eyes were glassy, but she was still standing. I walked back to the dining room, slowly, each step deliberate. I think I need to lie down. I am not feeling well. Tyler was on his feet instantly. I will call Mom's doctor. No. I said it sharp enough that even Gretchen blinked. Take me to Novant Presbyterian, not a private doctor, the ER at Novant. Gretchen's hands, which had been reaching for the phone on the counter, went still. Of course, she said after a beat. Tyler, drive her to the hospital. I picked up my purse, my water bottle, my phone. Gretchen held the door open for me. She wanted me at the hospital. That was part of her plan too. She just did not know it was part of mine. I know this is hard to hear. And if you are watching this thinking she should have left that table sooner, she should have called the police right then, I understand. But instinct does not hold up in a courtroom. Evidence does. And evidence takes time, patience, and sometimes risk. Keep watching. Because what happened at that hospital is the reason I am the one telling this story tonight. Tyler drove. I was in the passenger seat, bent forward, arms wrapped around my stomach. The streetlights streaked. Paige followed in her own car. At Novant Presbyterian, the ER team triaged me within minutes. Vomiting, tachycardia, confusion. They started an IV, drew blood, ran an EKG. A nurse asked Tyler what I had eaten. He said, family dinner. She might have a food sensitivity. I was fading. I heard Gretchen's voice in the hallway before I saw her. She had arrived within 15 minutes of our call. Already in charge. I need a private room for my daughter-in-law. We are the Prescott family. She needs quiet and privacy. We will cover the cost. The hospital accommodated. VIP room. Single bed, couch for visitors, a window facing the parking deck. They moved me there within the hour. Gretchen handled everything. Spoke to the charge nurse, signed consent forms that Tyler passed to her without reading, stationed herself at the nurse's station like a general directing traffic. I drifted in and out. Each time I surfaced, the room was different. Lights dimmer. Tyler sitting in the corner, head in his hands. Paige standing by the window, scrolling her phone. Gretchen in the hall, voice low, speaking to someone I could not see. At one point, a nurse checked my IV and asked if I needed anything. I tried to say, "My phone." The word came out slurred. She patted my hand. "Rest, honey. Your family is here." My phone was in my purse, on the chair, 3 feet from the bed, 3 feet that felt like 3 miles. My eyes closed. The last thing I heard was the heart monitor. Steady, mechanical, indifferent. I opened my eyes to a dim room. The clock on the wall read 2:07 a.m. The IV dripped slowly. The heart monitor beeped at a rhythm I recognized from years of nursing. Steady, 68 beats per minute. I was groggy, thick-headed, but present. My mouth tasted like copper. The door was half open. Fluorescent light from the hallway cut a line across the floor. Voices. Low. Gretchen and Paige. They were standing just outside. I did not move. I barely breathed. Gretchen's whisper was tight, urgent. "Are you sure she took it?" Paige, quieter, almost amused. "Relax, Mom. She ate half the plate. By tomorrow morning, everything will be ours." My chest locked. Every muscle in my body went rigid, but I kept my eyes half closed, my breathing slow. Gretchen. "Tyler needs to present the paperwork first thing, before she wakes up properly. The POA gives him authority to speak to the bank. The business, everything." Paige. "It is in his bag, and Judge Harwell's clerk is expecting the filing Monday morning, 2 business days, and we control the trust, the LLC, the accounts." Gretchen. "She will be too sedated to challenge it. By the time she is lucid, it will be done." They moved down the hallway. A door closed. The room was quiet again. I lay still for 60 seconds. Then I reached for the chair beside my bed. My purse, my phone. The screen lit my face. 2:14 a.m. battery, 34%. I opened my messages. Typed one line to Rachel Keller. "Execute the plan, now." The reply came in 90 seconds. "On my way. Do not say anything to anyone." I set the phone face down on the blanket and stared at the ceiling. The heart monitor beeped. Steady, mechanical, patient, like me. I called Nora at 2:20 a.m. She answered on the second ring. "Viv? I am at Novant Presbyterian, VIP room, 3rd floor East Wing. I need you to contact the hospital pharmacy and request a full toxicology panel on my blood. Stat priority. Call the attending on duty and tell them you have professional reason to suspect I ingested a non-prescribed substance. They will order the panel. Are you safe?" "I will be. Just get the order in." She hung up. I knew Nora. She would have that request logged within 20 minutes. I pushed myself upright and reached for the chart clipped to the bedside holder. Admission notes. Patient presented with acute GI distress, tachycardia, disorientation, probable foodborne illness, supportive care initiated. No toxicology screen ordered, no suspicion of poisoning noted. Under Healthcare Decision Maker, the form listed, Tyler Prescott. Per Healthcare. POA, presented at admission. I photographed the page, sent it to Rachel. Her response was immediate. "The pre-filed POA challenge is already in the county system. I am calling Novant's legal counsel now to flag the contested status. That document cannot be honored. Stay calm. I will be there by 7 a.m. I lay back against the pillow. The hospital was quiet at this hour. Down the hall, a door opened and closed. Somewhere, a nurse laughed softly. The IV dripped. The machines tracked my heart, my oxygen, my temperature, every biological fact the prosecution would need. Gretchen had chosen this room because she wanted privacy and control. But a VIP room at a major hospital is also a room with electronic records, security cameras in the hallway, badge access logs showing who entered and when, and a chain of custody for every blood sample drawn. She had put me in the best possible evidence locker. For the first time in months, I was not preparing. I was watching it land. At 8 in the morning, I was sitting up. The IV was still in my arm, but my head was clearing. A nurse had brought me water and toast. I ate slowly. Rachel Keller arrived at 7:45. Gray blazer, black portfolio case, no jewelry. She sat in the visitor's chair, placed 2 file folders on the bedside table, and opened her laptop. We did not speak much. She reviewed documents. I drank water. The room was calm the way an operating room is calm. Everything in place. Everything sharp, waiting for the procedure to begin. At 8:10 a.m., the door opened. Gretchen entered first. She wore slacks and a silk blouse, carried a bouquet of pink peonies in one hand and a tote bag in the other. Behind her, Paige in a cardigan, purse tight against her hip. Tyler last, hands in his pockets, eyes on the floor. Gretchen saw me and her face arranged itself into concern. "Vivian, sweetheart, how are you feeling? We have been so worried." She stopped. Her gaze had traveled to the chair beside my bed, to the woman in the gray blazer she had never seen before. "Who is this?" I said it simply. "This is my attorney, Rachel Keller." The peonies lowered an inch. Gretchen's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Her eyes moved from Rachel to me, to the folders on the table, back to Rachel. Paige took a half step backward. Tyler's hands came out of his pockets. Rachel stood. She buttoned her blazer with one hand and extended the other, not for a handshake, but toward the couch against the wall. "Mrs. Prescott, please, sit down. We have several things to discuss." Gretchen sat. And that was the last time she controlled anything in that room. Rachel did not rush. She opened the first folder and spoke the way I had heard surgeons speak. Precise, unhurried, every word calibrated. At approximately midnight last night, a healthcare power of attorney bearing Ms. Rowan's purported signature, dated March 14th of this year, was presented to Novant Health Presbyterian Admissions. This document named Tyler Prescott as Ms. Rowan's healthcare agent with broad financial authority in the event of her incapacitation. She paused. Ms. Rowan did not sign this document. Gretchen straightened. "That is absurd. Vivian signed it herself. We were there." "Mrs. Prescott, Ms. Rowan's authentic signature is on file with the North Carolina Secretary of State from her LLC registration, as well as with multiple insurance carriers and state licensing boards." A formal forgery challenge was pre-filed with the Mecklenburg County Clerk's Office on October 2nd, 6 weeks before this admission. The document is already contested in the court system. Additionally, a police report for forgery, fraud, and conspiracy to commit financial exploitation was filed with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department at 6:38 this morning. Tyler made a sound. Not a word. Just air leaving his body. Paige's hand found the edge of the couch and gripped it. Rachel continued. "An emergency temporary restraining order has been granted by Judge Patricia Weaver as of 7:52 this morning. Under the terms of this order, neither Mrs. Gretchen Prescott, Ms. Paige Prescott, nor Mr. Tyler Prescott may contact Ms. Rowan, access her financial accounts, enter her residence or place of business, or attempt to exercise any authority under the contested POA." She checked her watch. "That order has been in effect for approximately 20 minutes. Gretchen looked at Tyler. "Say something." Tyler said nothing. Gretchen shifted. I watched it happen in real time, the way a woman who has controlled rooms for 30 years recalibrates when the room stops responding. She softened. Her shoulders dropped. Her voice lowered to the warm, motherly register she used when she wanted something to feel like a gift instead of a demand. "Vivian, honey, I think you are confused. The medication, the stress, the illness, it does things to your thinking. I have seen it with my own mother. This is not something we need lawyers for. We are family. Family shares. We share problems too. Let us just talk about this privately, without—" She gestured toward Rachel. I looked at Gretchen. I did not lean forward. I did not raise my voice. "I have baseline blood work from 2 weeks ago," I said. "Every marker normal. And there is a full toxicology panel running right now on the blood they drew when I was admitted last night." The room went still. If that panel shows a substance that was not present in my baseline, and Gretchen, we both know it will, then this is not a family matter. It is a criminal one. Gretchen's composure held for 3 more seconds. Then her jaw tightened. Her hands, folded neatly on her lap, began to tremble. You do not know what you are saying. I know exactly what I am saying. I have known for 6 weeks. The heart monitor beeped beside me. Steady. Indifferent. Gretchen's eyes were wet now. Not from grief, but from something closer to rage contained too long in too small a space. She looked at Tyler, at Paige, at Rachel. And for the first time in the years I had known her, Gretchen Prescott had nothing to say. Paige broke first. She stood up from the couch, her face white, her hands shaking. Mom, she has blood work. She has blood work from before. Gretchen's voice was ice. Sit down, Paige. But Paige was past listening. She turned to me, words tumbling. Vivian, I did not know what it was. She told me it was something to help you relax. A sedative. Something mild so you would sleep through the night and Tyler could handle the paperwork in the morning. I did not know it would make you this sick. I did not know. Paige. Gretchen's voice cracked like a branch. Paige stopped. For a moment, standing there in her cardigan with her mascara starting to run, she looked young. She looked scared. She looked like a woman who had followed her mother into something she did not fully understand because she wanted, just once, to be the daughter who got it right. I saw that. I noted it. And then Rachel spoke. Ms. Prescott, you co-signed a forged healthcare power of attorney. You participated in communications regarding a fraudulent conservatorship filing, and based on your own statements in this hospital hallway last night, overheard and documented, you confirmed knowledge that a substance was administered to Ms. Rowan without her consent. Whether you knew the specific compound is a matter for the Mecklenburg County District Attorney. Paige sat down. She did not speak again. Tyler, from his chair by the window. Vivian, please. I did not know about what, Mom? Rachel cut him off. Mr. Prescott, your signature appears on the forged POA. That makes you potentially liable for conspiracy to commit fraud. I strongly advise you to retain separate legal counsel before making any further statements. Tyler put his head in his hands. Gretchen stood. She drew herself up the way she always did. Straight spine, lifted chin, the posture of a woman who had run the Prescott name like a company for 3 decades. She looked at me the way she had looked at me the first night we met, but without the warmth, without the performance, just the calculation underneath. After everything this family did for you, she said. Her voice was steady again, but brittle. After we welcomed you into this home, after we gave you the Prescott name, after Tyler chose you, this is how you repay us? The room waited. Paige was crying quietly on the couch. Tyler had not moved. Rachel held her pen above her legal pad, still and ready. I looked at Gretchen from the hospital bed, IV in my arm, monitor tracking my heart, hair pulled back, eyes clear. I did not stand. I did not raise my voice. I did not list the forged documents, the stolen money, the poison in the tiramisu. I looked at her and spoke quietly. Family does not poison family, Gretchen. The room went silent. The monitor beeped. Once, twice. Gretchen opened her mouth. Nothing came out. She closed it. Opened it again. Still nothing. 30 years of controlling conversations, and she had no answer for that. Rachel spoke into the silence. I would recommend you retain separate legal counsel immediately, Mrs. Prescott. Law enforcement will want to speak with you today. Gretchen turned. She picked up her purse from the couch. She did not look at Paige. She did not look at Tyler. She walked through the door and down the hallway without looking back. Paige followed, wiping her face with her sleeve. Tyler was last. At the door he turned. Viv, I am sorry. I did not. I know, Tyler. That is the problem. Within the hour, 2 officers from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department arrived at the hospital. Rachel met them in the hallway and briefed them before they entered my room. She handed over the package. Copies of the forged POA with the pre-filed challenge, screenshots of Gretchen's conservatorship email to Harold Brewer, my documented account of the hallway conversation at 2:07 a.m., the baseline blood work from 2 weeks prior, and the hospital's admission records. The officers took my statement. I gave it the way I had been trained to give patient reports. Facts, timeline, specific details, no editorializing. The taller officer asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. At 10:15 a.m., the toxicology preliminary results came back. The attending physician entered my room, chart in hand, expression careful. Ms. Rowan, your panel flagged an elevated level of a benzodiazepine compound, specifically a sedative hypnotic not prescribed to you and not consistent with any medication in your records. The concentration is consistent with oral ingestion approximately 8 to 12 hours before your blood was drawn. I thanked him. He looked at the two officers in the room and understood the situation without being told. He excused himself to finalize the report. One of the officers asked where the Prescotts had gone. Hospital security confirmed they had left the building 40 minutes earlier. Rachel said, "They will not be hard to find." The officers left to begin the process. Rachel packed her files. I lay back and looked at the ceiling. The VIP room was quiet. The monitors beeped. Through the window, I could see the parking deck where I had cried in my car 2 weeks ago. Gretchen had paid for this room thinking it would give her the privacy she needed to steal from me. Instead, it gave me the silence I needed to end her. Gretchen was arrested the following afternoon. The charge: assault by administering a noxious substance, a Class C felony under North Carolina law, carrying a potential sentence of 44 to 98 months. Additional charges followed within the week: forgery of a legal instrument, conspiracy to commit financial fraud, and attempted financial exploitation. Bail was set at $150,000. Paige was charged as an accessory to assault and forgery. She cooperated immediately with the district attorney's office. Her plea agreement reduced the charges to misdemeanor conspiracy. 3 years of supervised probation, 200 hours of community service, and full restitution. She was required to testify against Gretchen. Tyler cooperated as well. He provided testimony about the financial instructions Gretchen had given him over the course of 3 years, the unauthorized transfers, the forged documents she had asked him to sign, the conservatorship plan she had described as temporary estate management. His charges were reduced from conspiracy to a single count of financial document fraud, no jail time, a felony on his record. The emergency restraining order became permanent. I filed for divorce the same week I was discharged from the hospital. It was finalized in 4 months. I kept everything I had built: Rowan Home Health, my personal accounts, my trust, my home. None of it had ever been in Tyler's name. None of it had ever touched the Prescott family trust. The Prescott house went to auction 3 months after Gretchen's arrest. The remaining commercial properties were liquidated to cover debts. The family that had offered to share everything with me lost everything they had. By tomorrow morning, everything will be ours, Paige had said in that hallway. She was right about the timeline, wrong about who. 6 months later, I sat at my desk at Rowan Home Health and signed a contract with a second regional hospital. The expansion meant 4 new hires and 2 more counties covered. My scheduler poked her head in to tell me a patient in Union County had sent flowers to the office with a note that said, "Thank you for the nurse who made sure I took my medication." I put the note in my desk drawer, next to the one from Mrs. Delano. I had changed the locks on my townhouse.